Rob is the CEO of the Small Business Association of Michigan, and he joins us right now. Hey, Rob, how you doing today?
Hey, good, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So feeling pretty good. We're starting to see things open up a little bit. So one of our reporters is actually out at one of our Starbucks. It was closed until this week. So we're going to get some Starbucks coffee here in a couple of minutes. And, we're seeing some things open. Manufacturing seemed to open up this week. We're making progress. What do you have to report to us from the small business community in Michigan this week?
Yeah, Dave, thanks. We are trying to just simply monitor what's going on and make sure that our member small businesses across the state, and frankly, just all small businesses, sort of have the latest information. Um, the way we've been talking about this is this new Michigan Safe Start plan. We've kind of moved from everybody has to stay home, but there are some exceptions to that, and we're moving towards everybody can be out except these kinds of people, mostly the vulnerable, and we're somewhere in the middle of that. And the Michigan Safe Start Plan is the guiding post for that. It has 6 phases. The final phase is back to completely normal. We are in phase 3. It's pretty prescriptive, and it also suggests there'll be some regionality about it. So there may be some parts of the state that will open up before other parts. But as an example, so in phase 3, manufacturing can start again, construction can start again. Those two we've heard a lot about. But bars and restaurants aren't until phase 5. Retail comes on in full with some limitations in 4. So just to give you a sense of how this is likely to roll out, we think bars and restaurants will be the last to come back online. Um, Bars and restaurants are probably also the most vulnerable to failure in this whole thing. Retail also, those are two industries just dominated by small companies, and I think what we're going to see is a number of them just simply aren't going to make it. They're telling us that the new Harvard study just out says there'll be 100,000 small business failures across the nation. That probably is even low. So I think that's what we're looking at. I hope that's wrong. We're doing everything we can to help companies survive this thing, navigate the whole thing. But we did a survey. I think
Mm-hmm.
you covered a little bit. The survey suggested that there are about 14% of small businesses in our state who don't know whether they're going to make it through this thing. 4% are pretty sure they're not going to make it, and that's grim. That is, that's a big number.
And,
Either,
and and Rob Fowler, that is a survey of the perception of your membership, and if we're not careful, it could be worse than that. I don't wish that. I think it's going to be a lot better. I'm an eternal optimist, but that is a survey of the perception, and we don't really know. I mean, it's just complicated. As to how all this is opening up. What is interesting, and I would like your thoughts on, is that we're beginning to see organizations, associations, and entities assert themselves, even before the governor gets to a specific ruling. And I think of one of those organizations, the Michigan Restaurant Association. We had them on the air here last week. A lot of their members are members of yours. I know a lot of small businesses in the state of Michigan are restaurants and are part of the Small Business Association of Michigan as well. We talked to one restaurateur yesterday. Guy knows his way around Lansing, Marty Nolenberg, who's got a couple of restaurants right here in our backyard, and he's doing the best he can. But he echoed exactly what you said. Just not sure if they can make it, and there's certainly concern. If you're a restaurateur, you might sit there and scratch your head today and say, well, why do we got to wait till phase 5? So they're frustrated. Can you understand that frustration?
well, absolutely. We're trying to channel that frustration without being, just belligerent about it. But we have, as an association of it, turned up the heat on our policymakers, the governor, and others, while remaining a part of the conversation. But to say every day this goes on, more and more companies won't survive it. So you just have to know that is a fact. Um, there are resources available. We've been helping our members and small businesses just understand what those resources are and guiding them to those. But there still are going to be a lot of them that aren't going to make it the longer this goes on. So uh, the sort of unknowing is really difficult. What our members have been saying to us is, you tell me how long it's going to last, and I'll tell you if I can make it or not. But the not knowing how long it's going to last leaves a cloud of doubt, and uncertainty is really a killer in business. So I think the idea that we're going to come back phase at a time and a region at a time, while it's helpful, I guess, to understand how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen is the key question. And there is some suggestion that it may be well into June or July before restaurants and bars come back. Well, I think if that's the case, we'd really better be ready for, as a public, having way fewer options of places to go, as a business community, way fewer bars and restaurants, as as employees, way fewer places to go to work. That's just going to be the reality. So we, along with the Restaurant Association and others, are trying to be a balancing voice that says, okay, we can, if we wait until it's completely safe to go outside again, there'll be nothing to go outside to. And we have to have a balanced conversation about public policy here that says you actually can do both. You can be safe and go back to work. You can do both. It's not a trade-off between the two. As this policy debate has been so far, is if you want to open up the economy, you must be in favor of people dying, and that's simply not the choice. So we've been trying to be a voice of reason in this whole conversation, while some of our members are ready to just, storm the castle.
Yeah, no question about it. So, we could get into all the politics. And Rob, I congratulate you. You're doing such a good job of keeping your head. You and your association, the Small Business Association of Michigan, Rob Fowler, CEO. I wouldn't be as polite. I mean, it's a hard time right now. Are there sectors, we talked about the restaurants, maybe it's them. Are there sectors in the economy that you service, the Small Business Association of Michigan, that you are particularly concerned about?
Well, the reason I talk about bars and restaurants is I think that's kind of the most vulnerable. I think retail is right there with them, small retail in particular. So the reality is, during this period of time, your expenses don't entirely go away. You still have utilities, you still have a lease, you still have insurance and other expenses that haven't gone away on you. And so having no income while you still have those kind of expenses is just going to kill some businesses. That's just the reality. So the Paycheck Protection Program is a program that was developed by the Congress to give some real help, and we've been promoting it like crazy because we think it is legitimate, real help that may, in fact, save a number of businesses. Is one of the tools. The state has put some programs out, mostly some grant programs that are, the money's gone at this point, but and I think in the whole, those things will help. But the reality is, the longer it goes, the worse it's going to be. And I think the most vulnerable will tend to be those ones, honestly, who are going to be in the last phase, because it's where people congregate. If you have a meeting venue as a business, you're going to have some real trouble. Think about public meeting places, because I believe it's going to be well into the summer before we're able to have large meetings once again, concerts and ball games and large meetings. So if you're in the business of meetings, I think the world has changed really fundamentally.
Yeah, see, thanks a bunch.
No.
Rob knows what my day job is. But no, we know it. And there are people that are working on pivoting, and you've probably seen a million of these pivot stories, and these business people that have been able to pivot, they deserve so much credit, because they are saving their business. They're providing us what we need right now, and they're saving their employees, and they're just helping out. I mean, if you're frustrated with what's going on, you can be frustrated, but, get out and do something. And one of the antidotes to all this is pivot, right? So I know you probably got a ton of stories. We've had somebody on the show almost every day who is a hero in the pivoting arena. But you're right. I guess if we go back and talk about a sector, it's in trouble. It is the hotel and motel industry and the travel industry and up north. And, I saw an interesting story. I know you are a prolific observer of all political here in the state of Michigan, so you might read BridgeMI.com. I think it's a fantastic news organization. If you're not familiar with it, it's a very nonpartisan reporting, and they've got some fantastic reporters. And I was reading a story, we're going to try to get to it later on today, that they did trying to bust some of the myths and some of the statements that have been made by some folks on both sides of the aisle that weren't necessarily very accurate. And one of the things they highlighted was some of the reporting on the hospital occupancy and the available beds up in northern Michigan, which we've been told the hospitals are all at near peak, and that might not be entirely the story. Well, you're shaking your head, so I'll let people see that. It isn't the truth. It may be 50%, maybe less in some communities. So the governor's plan, which we've not seen this part of it implemented at all, does talk about some regionality and opening of some communities. It just seems to be an awful lot of hesitation, though, Rob Fowler, and that policy making it out to the state of Michigan.
Well, and this is that, I don't envy the governor or the president or anybody in in that kind of office where you've got to balance information coming at you from all different sides. And the public health voice has been very strong. And it is, we can't overwhelm our healthcare system. We can't overwhelm our hospitals. They have to have the capacity. We have to have enough personal protective equipment for our healthcare workers. Those are true limitations, but they're pretty much in hand today. And all across the state, in Southeast Michigan, they are under control. In West Michigan, which peaked a little bit later, they're under control. And in Northern Michigan, where they've never peaked at all, they're under control. So that, at some point, that's no longer a limitation, and the need to get the economy rolling again for everyone, for our employees, for our small businesses, is so compelling. And we have to get going again, and particularly in places where it is safe to do that. I am about to the point where I wonder what we're waiting on, because it seems like if the road map has been laid out, let's follow it. And what it lacks is dates. And so we're going to continue to press for balance, urgency, but to understand the consequences of waiting too long are pretty serious to our state's economy.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and that message can't be told enough, as well as a story on the other side that if there are sides here, I don't think there are, but as well as a story that we have to make sure that we do not go down a path that is going to result in people getting sick again, because if that starts happening, then everyone is going to be in big trouble. We're going to have a real problem. I know we're doing great things here in Michigan to come up with treatments and come up with vaccines. We're contributing in Michigan, along with the rest of the world, to find those answers. But but both of these things do need to be balanced. And Rob Fowler, CEO, Small Business Association of Michigan, I'm sure you're hearing the same thing that I'm hearing from businesses. The people that have not been able to open yet, they feel that some of the decisions are arbitrary, and giving the governor her due, she doesn't want to open everything at one time. I get that. But then you got to pick winners and losers, and it's really tough. And, the churches say, well, you can go to Walmart. Well, why can't I go to church? The restaurants and the bars are saying, well, you can go to Meijer. We can fix things so it's Meijer-like. And we got a cup of coffee from Starbucks. Thank God, on my studio desk this morning, we were able to get that. So darn it all, we got. I'm sure there's a way that we can do this. I'm a little frustrated. There's no easy solution, but are your members, do they feel they're being treated fair, and are they getting frustrated because there are some winners and losers in this whole process?
Well, sure. And I think early on it was even it cut big versus small. That is, you could go into Meyer and buy potting soil, but you couldn't go to a local nursery. So there was a little bit of that. But I also think the frustration I think a lot of members have today, a lot of small business owners, is we can be safe. We can have a safe workplace. We've recently issued a small business owner's guide to reopening safely, kind of a guidebook. Uh, CDC has rules, OSHA has rules. We can follow them, and following them in the workplace is what we've all embraced. I think people understand that you're going to have personal protective equipment. That 6 feet apart is going to be a rule of thumb for a while. No meetings in tight places. All those things I think people can get, and I think the frustration is we're ready to go under those circumstances, and needed a little bit of a green light. And frankly, Dave, I think one of the things we're seeing is a little bit of a slow roll. Some companies some businesses are just opening, and I think, and I don't blame them. There's a little bit of I'm going to die here, so arrest me if you need to, but I'm going to open my business, and I'm not sure that's advised or well advised. But I get the temptation to just a little bit of civil disobedience across our state, and I think it could take off like wildfire. And I'm not so sure it's not beginning to happen right now.
Well, and we we all know it's happening, so there's no denying it. The poster child of anarchy here in the state of Michigan is a 77-year-old barber in Owasso, and it's such an interesting story in that you've got the state versus the barber, I guess. The state can't really do anything if the local authorities won't enforce the rules. The county sheriff in Owasso won't enforce the rules. It's getting to the point now where the only way the state can shut that guy down is by taking his license away, which they're threatening to do. I'm sorry, I cannot remember a more fascinating time, and I say that with great reluctance because of all the suffering people are going through. But there it is, and then I was really curious, and I don't intend to ask you about this, just a comment. Maybe you know something that you could share. But the Archdiocese today comes out and says they're going to open up churches. And I've been trying to read all the orders from the governor, and I don't see where in any of the orders the governor says that churches can open back up. Now, I might have missed that one. But we're seeing, right, thanks, we're seeing organizations beginning to exert themselves, as you've just said, and it's totally understandable. And we talked to a lot of local cops in this show, and they don't seem all that excited about throwing people in jail because they open up their business.
Well, and I think you've seen county sheriffs all across the state and prosecutors who essentially stood down and to say, we don't believe that's our job. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the authority. These are not laws. This is an executive order. And so it is a fascinating time. And I agree with you that and I want to be clear, I'm not in any way suggesting people should just disobey the executive order. I'm saying it is happening, and I really think businesses should be careful about it. But it speaks to the pent-up feeling that I'm running out of options.
Yeah.
That I think is really what it says is when you get to the point where you think, I've got nothing left to lose, take away my license, shut me down, I'm going anyway. That's kind of where we are, I think, in some cases.
Well, thanks for sharing all this with me. It makes I know you're not telling people to go out and break the law, Rob Fowler. I know that, and I think just as a reminder to folks that are listening and watching, hopefully this is helpful. This discussion for you as you're trying to decide what to do in your business and how you're going to make all this happen. But even the Republicans in the legislature who are suing the governor, and we'll see all of them in court on Friday, even they are saying, don't, follow the rules, follow the law. For people that are going to protest in Lansing around, put your masks on, keep your social distance. You got to do what you got to do, but, just be careful, follow the rules. And, Rob, maybe we can end this on a positive note today, and that is, I'll tell you what, we see it every day. What this show does is goes to the front line and talks to people that are, we've taken our reporters and taken a phone and just tried to walk into a store and see what happens. Everyone's wearing masks. Everyone's keeping their social distancing. I continue to be amazed when I drive to the studio every day to see how few cars are still on the road as manufacturing and businesses are opening. I think we're doing really great, and the numbers are indicating that. So, that's, and even talking to Greg Flynn, our fire chief in West Bloomfield yesterday, he says the same thing. People are doing a great job making this happen, and I think as soon as we get these businesses open, it's better. And I think, Rob, that through your communications, I'm on your website right now reading the Small Business Guide and all the information. It's that information that folks like you are putting out, and your amazing membership and all of our neighbors who are making it happen. Your thoughts?
Well, I appreciate the compliment, Dave. You're a member of ours, and we appreciate that. And I think I think this is a time when associations, chambers of commerce, organizations like this, who are the voice of a segment of our economy, a sector of our economy, really need to stand up. And I think we've tried to do that. We've tried to fill the gap with information and advocacy. It's interesting to say go to our website is just kind of become a throwaway line, but in our case, every single day we're curating and updating that website. We have a staff of 26 who have completely pivoted towards helping small business navigate this issue. And so our entire focus right now is helping small businesses through this so that they can survive and Michigan can come back more quickly.
Well, your information is really helpful, and your information, we'll get more of it up online today on our website. And then I talked to some businesses on the air this week, some of the manufacturers that are opening up, and they go to information like yours and information from Oakland County, who's also done a really wonderful job taking all of the orders and giving businesses an idea how to get the forms together and what to tell their employees. All the information is out there. Okay, any of your small business owners who are having a hard time trying to figure it out, just go to the SBAM website, go to the Oakland County website, and you're going to find everything you need. Rob, thank you very much. I just feel better after I talk to you for a little while. So, and I'm sure your members do as well. Anything else you want to add? Any big news you want to break or anything today?
No big news, Dave. Thanks for letting us come on, and appreciate what you're doing, and I think you have kind of understood this earthquake that's happening to your business, and I think a lot of business owners have to really kind of take it in at this point and say, what's going to be different in the future, and what kind of opportunity is there in that change? And I love entrepreneurs. I love small businesses because I think they see those kinds of opportunities. They change quickly, and I have a lot of faith that small businesses will survive and thrive.
All right. Well, I do too. Thank you very much. And I got my coffee now. If I just get a haircut, everything would be a whole lot better. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. Good talking to you today.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. He is Rob Fowler, the CEO of the Small Business Association.